Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. I've saved the scariest word for last. This week we're exploring some scary church words that make us go, whoa. And I think this word has the potential to scare us the most, and we might be surprised by that a bit. The word is church. On one hand, that word isn't scary at all. We talk about church and going to church all the time. But on the other hand, the more you think about it, we might just discover that we're holding dynamite with a lit fuse in our hands. Perhaps the most benign way we refer to the church is the building itself. It's the place where gatherings of God's people happen for worship, for ministry, for learning, for fun, food, and fellowship. It's the place for us, for the gathered people of God. It's home for our family of faith. Now, I called that benign, but just in itself, that's pretty powerful. Together we share joys and sorrows. Together we walk the road of life with care, support, and prayer for one another. And I think that's pretty powerful. But then we refer to church as the body of believers, the people of God. This is where the church's real power lies, as God's people engage in ministry, reaching out into the world with the compassion and love of Christ, sharing the good news, caring for the needy, the outcast, the forgotten, and overlooked, reaching to those everyone else turns away from, and shaping our lives God's way instead of the world's way. It's a daring way to live. And it challenges not just the world's way of being, but it challenges us to live that way too. Being the church invites us to overcome ourselves and to find our center in God. Always. In everything. When Jesus talked about losing one's life for the sake of the gospel and then finding it, I think this is part of what he means. We die to self. We rise to Christ. A third way we talk about the church might be more explosive still. Here, the word church might mean our national church body, in my case, the ELCA. In the past few years, the ELCA has made some decisions that have stirred up some controversy among people who have differing viewpoints. One time someone said to me, that viewpoint doesn't represent me. But here's the thing. The church doesn't exist to represent us. It exists to present Christ to the world. So the church isn't called to take one political stand or another. It is called to stand with Christ. Some may call the church liberal. Others might call it conservative, but the church's intent only and always is to follow Christ. And that means that sometimes the church might take a stand that calls us to re-examine our viewpoints and what is most important to us. On the other hand, sometimes the church might affirm our views. This is all expressed even in our church assembly language. We don't send delegates to represent us to assemblies. Rather, we send voting members from certain areas. Those voting members are tasked to listen to the debate, pray about the issues, and then vote, not like the people at home might vote, but vote as they feel the Holy Spirit leading them. This is dynamite indeed, because it means that God is in control, not us. Now, of course, the church can get things wrong, but there is serious intent and prayer behind trying to get it right. And I appreciate that integrity. And I appreciate the explosiveness of daring to allow God to have the control. Finally, there's one more way we talk about church, and that is the whole people of God, the church universal. Roman Catholics, Baptists, Methodists, non-denominational, Lutherans, Episcopal, Presbyterian, Orthodox, on and on it goes all over the world. Rise up, O saints of God, the hymn begins. Led by the Holy Spirit we can, and led by the Holy Spirit we do. That's dynamite. That's explosive. Be the church. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.